Welcome to the Think Factory podcast. We got one question for you. What keeps you up at night?
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to the Think Factory podcast, powered by OGC Solutions. I'm Chris Santomassimo, your host, and I'm excited to talk about people, especially in the manufacturing area, who are doing what I think are pretty amazing things. But, I'm not that easily impressed, but I am definitely impressed by technology that helps people get their jobs done more easily, in a more safe way, helps people from getting hurt, etc., especially in manufacturing environments. And that's why I'm excited to introduce Ted Borowsky, who is the president of Foster, and he's coming to us from Pennsylvania. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So Ted and I share an affection for the printing industry, and that's where some of his work is concentrated. But, Foster is a company they may not know necessarily in terms of what they do, but you're sure going to understand the type of value that the Foster products bring to the manufacturing environment in particular. Ted, give me and give our listeners just an introduction to the company, which I know spans back to 1948. But tell us a little bit about some of the ergonomic products that you generate.
Great. Thank you. Well, as wide format became more and more dominant in the printing and sign making industry, rolls of media, paper, film, foil, whatever used in the printing process became wider and heavier. And companies were looking for ways to be able to handle them more efficiently, safer, and be able to do it with fewer people. They realized quickly that to do this manually, they would need 2-3 people to lift these rolls, and it was still a safety risk. So the honor roll lifter was developed with that in mind. And we basically have come up with a way for a single operator to handle a 500, 600, 1,000-pound roll by themselves without any back strain. And that is huge because, you don't want to bring forklifts into the print room because if they inadvertently hit a printer or something, you have to recalibrate the printers, you have to recalibrate the machinery. What we have is a device that provides precision loading and unloading of these rolls with a single operator. So that's what we bring to the table here. We started out several years ago, with a single model, and today we have 15 different models for all kinds of applications and all types of printing processes. And this year at Printing United, we introduced the height adjustable all aboard lifter. And the significance of that is that one all aboard lifter can handle 4x8 sheets of media for all the various machines in the shop. And most printers, as you know, are riding many different horses in their production.
That's for sure.
And they have different heights, different capabilities, different needs. The height adjustable all aboard lifter is one size does fit all. So it adjusts from 34 to 44 inches. So if you have a flatbed printer and a Zune cutter, it will be you could use it for both machines.
That's so.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
But if you could break that down a little bit. So what's interesting to me anyway, again, I love the fact that that the products really do all these things for the customer, not only make them more efficient and more quick in terms of their turnaround, but it really enables individual people without the big forklift, as you said, to do things that are virtually impossible without the tool. For example, if people could appreciate a skid or a pallet worth of wide format media, 3x3, 3x4, 8x8, whatever it is, and the ability to pick that, not only heavy, but also, awkward item up in the air at the right height to put it inside the printer to feed the printer. I mean, that to me is amazing.
Yeah, the other aspect of the all-aboard lifter is that it folds into a vertical position so that it can maneuver through narrow aisles, around corners, and through doorways. The typical shop has a lot of equipment squeezed in a limited amount of floor space, and there are multiple jobs going through a shop at any one time. So what printers need and sign makers need is the flexibility to be able to stage various jobs during the production and post-production process. We have found printers are basically eliminating their stationary workstations and putting the all-aboard lifter, which functions both as a mobile workstation but also as a transport device that's only 3 feet wide to be able to get through the aisles and get around the corners.
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think no matter what industry you're in terms of manufacturing, you would have the same concern or the same complaint, which is, especially post-COVID, how the heck do I find enough people to staff my facility, right? So with the limited number of people that a given manufacturer or a given print shop might have, they got to preserve the safety and the well-being of the people that are actually on the staff, but probably, I would say, minimize the reliance on labor at the same time wherever they can.
Yeah, that's a huge factor in being competitive. Oftentimes, that factor is the difference between a job being profitable or not profitable. It depends on how much labor and handling is involved and how much time is involved. There's also the issue of companies that might be running 2 or 3 shifts, and they may have enough people at one shift, but they're light on the second or the third shift. This enables them to get the jobs through and completed with just one operator.
Yeah, so what we see more and more, I think, is the desire to automate where we can, but at the end of the day, automation is only going to go so far. Someone's got to bring the media or the paper to the machines, and that's really where you come in. You're really at the beginning of the process and at the end of the process, moving around the finished work as well.
Yep. I think no matter how automated a shop becomes or the production process becomes, people will always be interacting with materials and machinery either at the beginning, the end, or during the workflow process. So that's what we offer, and companies are seeing that as a significant benefit, especially if they're running multiple shifts.
Yeah, and like you said, you have to have somebody that's is gonna queue the jobs, is gonna stack the media, is gonna get the automated solution running. And so without the tools that we're talking about here, you just never even get the media or the paper to the press, no matter what kind of press it is. Yeah. Pretty phenomenal. So I'm curious, as the company has evolved and the technology or you'd say the physics of it have become better understood, et cetera. So how would you describe, the evolution of the print shop, and where did your products, where did Foster's products, fit into that evolution, especially over the last 10 or 20 years?
Yeah, well, I remember when the first Macintosh hit in, 1980, and we were still making flat files, light tables, and lineup tables and plate inspection systems at that time. And I saw the writing on the wall, and I said, this is it. The whole thing changed, and so we better think about where we want to be. And for a while, we were very involved in substrate cutting devices. We moved away from that as that process moved upstream, became more automated or in line. And we still saw the bottleneck as being the actual physical material handling of the items.
Right.
So, that's where we're concentrating on, and I think that's where our future is.
Yeah, you mentioned Zune, which had a really impressive showing at the Printing United Expo that you mentioned, one of their newest cutting devices. What are some of the other manufacturers that you've got partnerships with to service their equipment on the print floor?
Well, we're strategic partners with all the major manufacturers, HP, AGFA, EFI, ViewTech, et cetera, et cetera. And what we've done over the years is work directly with their engineers, designing and developing lifters that fit within the geometry of their printers so that they can get a roll in there and unload it, pull the lifter out, and then safely unload it after it's printed. With that in mind, we have models that are specific to certain kinds of printers or certain brands of printers and model numbers, and we have other models that are more universal. So as that changes, the universal models are becoming more and more dominant.
The fact that you've got strategic relationships with so many major manufacturers is interesting to me. Maybe that gives you a cross-sectional view of the market and what's coming and maybe what's going. So what are some of the industry developments that you're seeing, maybe as a reflection of the products that you're selling?
Well, I think the most significant one is ChatGPT, where you're going to see a tremendous amount of automation taking place. That's going to change the workflow. It's going to change the nature of jobs in ways that we can't foresee. That's number one. Number two, you can see more and more automation where manual steps will be eliminated and more steps will be automated. And then number three, I think you're going to see a growth in what I call the composite market. In other words, this whole business with additive manufacturing is going to really take off. Right now, it's in its nascent stage, but as that matures, you're going to have all kinds of new companies coming up that are going to be providing composite materials that mimic steel, et cetera, or composite finishes. And so these composites are going to be basically multiple layers that are sandwiched together. And again, I think the all-aboard lifter or the on-a-roll lifter will still play a role in that in handling it. So,
well, especially as printers print on more interesting things, more complicated things, right? For sure. Yeah, I've seen things printed on at some of the shows that I would never have guessed could be printed on. It's really fun. Rather than a film or some other material that's eventually adhered to the product, the product is actually getting printed on, which is amazing.
Well, think about also the film LED screens that basically you have a screen, a TV screen that's as thin as a piece of film. It could be applied to any surface.
Right.
Think about barcodes and how they could be scanned, and it could activate an advertising message or whatever. That's going to change the entire nature of point of purchase displays, everything.
Right.
Become more intelligent.
Well, I also see another benefit on the labor side from the products that Foster makes, in the sense of, rather than replacing people, it's got the tendency to elevate people, which I think is a good thing. Everybody, or not everybody, many people think that automation is going to result in job loss, but to me, I think it elevates people to do better things, more things with their brain, so to speak, than their hands, in a sense, and less wear and tear on the body, for sure, in the meantime. Would you say that your products sort of lend themselves to that as well?
Yeah, I would agree with that. There's always going to be a need for physical manual labor, and there's no getting around that. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, who's going to repair the machines? Who's going to program them? Who's going to service them? Et cetera, et cetera. And so people are going to have to up their game and learn some of the basics of programming and learn some of the basics of RFID, robotics, whatever technology is going to be used. So I think it's an interesting time.
There's no doubt about it. As you said, ChatGPT is just one marker of what's going on out there in terms of change. When you harken back to the Macintosh computer, it did take a while for the PC and the Mac to really change the market and change how people thought. But I would say ChatGPT was almost overnight in comparison.
Yeah, accelerating, definitely accelerating. And the challenge, I think, for the industry is going to be how to basically find the people and train the people, more importantly, train the people to be able to function in these positions. And I'm concerned that I think there's a real gap in our educational system. One of the organizations I'm involved in is a group called Fresh Artists, which takes kids in the underserved sections of Philadelphia and digitizes their artwork. Kids who show promise with design and art, and then that artwork is blown up, and then it's placed in various corporations, hospitals, universities, etc., so that the kids get exposure to something like this and are motivated. The whole goal is to motivate them to stay in school. Okay. And what I think there needs to be is a concerted effort on part of the industry to go in and identify these groups, because these are kids who not necessarily are all-star athletes or all-star academics, but nice kids. How do you get them from slipping through the cracks? I think those kids are going to be the future workforce, and we need to do more to cultivate them.
Yeah, we don't have the apprenticeship programs that we did, decades ago, right?
Bring that back.
Yeah, and just giving kids coming out of high school more options, really, to do. People refer to trade sometimes almost like it's a negative, but to me, it's such a rich place to spend a career. And if we could not only channel kids there, but also, to your point, train them in the meantime, it would be so much more effective, I think.
Yeah, and I think that's going to really address the whole issue of labor shortage. I just remember an incident where we were demonstrating car wrapping at one of the annual open houses for fresh artists, and these kids were fascinated. I want to do that. They were asking the guy, "How much do you earn?" He says, "Well, I make $80,000 a year." I want to do that. And we said, "You can, but you have to stay in school."
Yeah.
So that's what we're hoping. And even if they don't go into the printing or the graphic arts industry, at least they're going to get through school and hopefully maybe go on to college.
Well, it's only by experiences that you really discover your true path. Most of us, myself included, are doing something completely different than we thought we would do when we entered college. So
I never thought I'd be doing this, and here I am 45 years later.
Yeah, it's just a matter of banging up against a couple of walls and figuring out your path, right? So, well, hopefully the products that Foster makes are going to help. Actually, there's a great segue, by the way. So stay tuned for it. It's going to help people bang into fewer walls with the things that are moving around the factory. Again, I was pretty impressed, and am very impressed with what you do. And when I think about liability issues and cost, I mean, it's these, it's not just the cost of paper and ink to create a job. As you say, it's labor, it's overhead, and then you talk about lost time and injured employees, et cetera. So if we can minimize that, we're going to kill a couple of birds with that one stone in terms of keeping our people working.
Another aspect to it is also the damage to a lot of these materials as they're handled. So one conversation I had with a paper company is using the all-aboard lifter to develop stacks of 4x8 rigid substrates on the truck. They unload it. It travels through the shop. They use up the substrates. They bring it back. The paper distributor picks it up, reloads it again. So there's no damage done to the materials, because that's a huge amount of waste right there.
Oh, for sure. And the supplier is going to pay for it, and the price is going to reflect it for sure. That's pretty impressive. Very cool. Well, keep up the good work for sure, and I hope that the folks that listen to the podcast will check you guys out. What's your website?
It's go-foster.com. So that's go-foster.com.
Terrific, Ted. Well, you're a heck of a spokesperson for the company, and I'm fascinated. I'm sure others will be if they check you out. But I would encourage anyone in the manufacturing environment, whether it's printing, packaging, or otherwise, to check out go-foster.com and see what they have to offer. Ted, thank you so much for joining the podcast and sharing your enthusiasm about the products.
You're welcome, and thank you for the opportunity. We appreciate it.
Oh, it's our pleasure. Thanks again. And this is Chris Santomassimo signing off on the Think Factory podcast powered by OGC Solutions, and we'll see you next time.